Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and today we're going to be going into a test I just did a few days ago, which is how good is Elder Zana, specifically the T16 modifier that you can apply to your maps, which will upgrade it from any tier that it was all the way up to T16. So what I did was I ran 100 Elder Zana crater maps, and I recorded all the results just like in our beach test before, and we're going to take a look at just how profitable it is. But before I want to start, I do want to say that I have also tested 100 just normal Elder maps, and I will be making that comparison a little bit throughout the video. In addition to that, the crater map is a newer map. I have a bit of information about that. We'll talk about that at the end, but we'll get straight into the test. So of course, it wouldn't be a Grimro video without the spreadsheet. Here is our actual results, and I decided to take a bit of a different approach to testing this because it was a T16 map. So to begin with, obviously we out every map because we want them to be rare to be able to use Elder Zana modifier. In addition to that, we used 217 white sextants over 100 maps. It's got 5 white sextant locations, which you could use all of them if you're doing this strat, but I decided to just use 4 due to the fact that I wanted to sustain a new and different Elder map pool. In addition to that, obviously we have our expenses here, 1,500 chaos for the Elder Zana mod. We did chisel every map, and we have a pretty big expense from that. And in addition to that, I used 2 different prophecies. I used the Bestiary prophecy just to kind of experiment with it, and I also used Bountiful Traps. So both of these prophecies will drop you maps in your map and increase sustain. So that's definitely going to be a factor. So just moving on, I obviously did this on a Tornado Shot character, but it was with no magic find or quantity, apart from the Wind Ripper bow, which is just 15%. In addition to that, I did actually go ahead and complete all incursions, and obviously I did Bestiary, but I did not do Zana. So with all that out of the way, let's take a look at how much currency we made, and if it's actually really that much better to run Elder Zana versus like normal Elder maps, or even just running beach. So a lot of your currency is going to come from map drops in Elder maps. So in the past, this has been really good. Like most like T15s and 16s would sell for like 20 plus C, and especially in the start of the league, and the T15s would sell for like 10 or 11 C. But however, that is just not the case this league. With the cartography scarab, delving, everything just being in there, map prices just are at an all-time low, and that's definitely going to impact the effectiveness of this strategy versus something like beach. So in addition to all of the stuff I've talked about, I did decide that I wasn't going to do the syndicate, purely from the fact that it is just quite difficult on T16, and my character at the time wasn't geared enough to do it. This test was done quite a little bit ago. But yeah, so I didn't do Syndicate, and that definitely hurt me quite a lot, because Syndicate members can drop a lot of T16 and 15 maps and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely going to be a lot of lost currency and map drops there. But anyway, let's get straight into it. The main thing I want to talk about here is that I got 67 T16 maps back from doing 100 Elder Zanas. So what this tells me straight away is that you're not going to be able to sustain or create a one-to-one kind of map pool using this method, which a lot of people kind of thought you could, or like thought it was viable, but it's definitely probably not. This is a map with all those sextants on there. I was rolling them really well with chisels. Obviously I wasn't using sack frags, but I was using prophecies, and I was also doing a very high density map. Crater has a lot of monsters in it. It's right up there with like Grotto and Underground sea level of monsters. So yeah, I don't think this is the best strategy if you're trying to build a map pool, but it's definitely good for other things. So we'll get into that in a second here. But yeah, so in terms of revenue from maps, I suppose we got 1,702 chaos, which almost completely covers the cost of all of our expenses here, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Next up, we have our currency, which surprisingly, when comparing it to Beach, wasn't actually that different. We actually got more Jeweler's Orbs in Crater. I think I would attribute this to just having the prophecies on there and also killing the boss maybe, and just a more like dense map. But it is definitely very interesting comparing the two. We didn't get any Exalted Orbs this run, but that's definitely going to contribute to the profit a little bit. But yeah, nonetheless, we got a similar amount of currency as we did magic finding, which is quite interesting indeed. We actually got a lot, yeah, quite a few more fusings. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. We got made 486 chaos there. One point I did want to make out with all T16 maps is that you get access to Journeyman Sextants and Master Sextants, which are definitely quite a nice bonus here. So we got 13 Master Sextants here and 23 Journeymans, which just aren't present in, like if you take the Exalted Orb away, we actually made a lot less currency, just raw currency in Beaches with Magic Find versus T16s without it. So I think that's definitely got a little bit of an attributing factor here to the Sextants, which add around 100 chaos worth of just like profit, it seems, which is pretty interesting in my opinion. Yeah, definitely a good bonus there and a really big incentive to doing T16s. Another incentive to doing T16s is Chayula, and we got 14 splinters. I think this was from 2 breaches. I must note that the Crater is an absolutely shockingly bad map for breach. So yeah, overall you're going to be getting a lot more Chayula and Umtal breaches in T16 maps, which are pretty nice. In addition to that, you're also going to be getting high item level Abyss bases that you can sell in bulk. So specifically, I want to kind of focus here on the Stygian Vices. These things sell all day long at 8 chaos, and I've sold like 20 of them at a time. So you're going to be able to sell these quite easily. They come from any abyssal depths that you get, including liches. That's going to be a pretty much guaranteed profit, even if you decide to invest money in the Zana Abyss modifier if you were doing normal Elder maps, which I might try later on actually. In addition to that, we got quite a lot of Abyss Jewels we can see here, which sold for quite a bit of currency as well. In terms of other notable things, we got a Bisco's collar from doing Bestiary from the beasts we got. We got a 6-link chest from that as well. Venomous Weave again from Bestiary. I got one kind of Spirit Beast, I suppose, from doing those prophecies, and we got a Shroud of the Lightless from doing the abysses. So let's go straight down now to the results and see how much currency we made. So in terms of revenue, we made 2,685 chaos, but with expenses in there being so high at almost 2,000 chaos, we only made 729 chaos profit. But I would attribute this mainly to not doing the Syndicate. If we had done the Syndicate, we would have made a ton more currency from map drops, as well as getting the prophecy, as well as getting the breach stones from doing that Syndicate and the Scarabs. If we take how much we made from Beach in our last test, 720, and obviously take the expenses as well, we actually would have made overall, what's going on here, more currency than we did in Beach in terms of profit over 100 maps due to running T16s. But you also have to factor in that you're going to have to spend a lot more time selling the maps, rolling the maps, and kind of just doing maintenance as well. So the question is T16 Zana really worth it? Well, in my opinion, it's just not anymore. It's really not too great compared to just doing normal Elder maps and doing things like Delves while you're doing it, or running Influence or any of that other stuff. One big change in patch 3.5 is that you can no longer run Influence on Elder Zana maps, and that's a really big hit because a lot of the bases still sell for a good amount of currency, and you're going to be getting more map returns from running Shaper and Elder Influence due to the additional mobs. So I just don't think it's worth it. You also lose control over what goes into the device in terms of, like, is it going to be a reflect map? If it's a reflect map, you need a certain set of gear to kind of combat that. You also don't get the opportunity to put in your un-ID maps when you want to suit the sextant. You actually have to roll over that sextant. So I just don't think it's worth it anymore. In addition to that, it's also a bit of a hassle to buy the white maps and then sell the T16s. So yeah, it's definitely not the best anymore. Having said that though, if you're just looking to make a map when you don't want to buy the red maps and you just rather do the T16s on it, it's still an option, but I just don't think it's the best anymore. So moving on to kind of like part 2 of this video now that we've answered the question, how good was the crater map? I thought I'd just throw this in here at the end. Well, in my opinion, it's actually not the best. I did a density test on it, and the density is quite nice. I did 25 white maps with no bestiary, nothing on it, just counting the mobs with Rampage, and it is well and truly over 600 mobs, which puts it in the territory of around underground sea level or grotto. That's a very good number of mobs. And we did see that reflected actually in our currency gains. But what I will say about it is that the layout just isn't too great. While it is linear, you'll notice it kind of has a snaky, winding fashion to it, with a few corridors that kind of come off it and kind of intersect through the middle of it. It's basically a big circle with those sneaking paths through the middle of it. And that can be a little bit confusing at times, which isn't the best, which you'll see here in the layout. So overall, if you don't mind the layout, you'll get 5 white sextants out of it. You'll get a really easy boss. It's not hard at all. The mechanics are super duper easy, and you'll get really good density. But in my opinion, there's no good divination cards in here, and the density is just not even as good as Underground Sea. Ultimately, or like Grotto, it's similar to, but yeah, I don't think it's as good as either of those. So I think it's definitely a novel map. If you're bored and you want to try it out, go for it, but I don't think I would be choosing it as a top tier map. So that's going to be the video, guys. I'm actually now streaming on Twitch when I can get to it, when I have the spare time. So if you want to head over to Twitch TV and check me out, ask any questions, or just come and chill out, definitely come and do that. Next video will actually be another test on Elder Arid Lake. I did 100 of those as well, and we can actually see a massive difference between the strategy here and the normal Elder strategy. Tons more content coming up, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one or over on Twitch. Cheers.